Everywhere you go, especially if you're a bimbler like me, you'll find listed buildings, the old cottages, the stately homes and the ancient churches. Just like this one, St. Peter's Church here in Newton Le Willows. But what about the strange stuff? The odd stuff, the objet d'art, the curiously listed? Well, Newton and Earlestown have lots of them. Let's bimble. It's not an old village unless you have an old set of stocks. And these are here outside of St. Peter's Church, just off the High Street in Newton. Who knows when they installed the first set of stocks here? But these were installed in the 1700s, grade 2 listed. The last known use of these stocks was in 1859, locking up some drunkard who tried to go to all the pubs here in Newton. Sounds like me and my mates. Let's bimble.
All your thoughts on your mind, are you listening? You still won't figure it out. Figure it. With all your thoughts on your mind all the time, oh it's deafening. You still won't figure it out. Figure it. With a simple frame of mind and a little time, you can protest all you like. We both know, with goodwill on your side and a little time, you can have just what you like. We both know things could be easy if you just try. You'd be better off this time. Have it your own way if you like. But things could be easy if you just try. I know you've heard it.
Earlestown Station was opened on the 17th of September 1830, 2 days after the line itself opened. This line was the first commercial intercity railway in the whole world, and the first one to be served by steam engines and not pulled along by horses. This wasn't actually called Earlestown Station at the time. That's because Earlestown didn't exist. Earlestown just came to be because of the junction in the railway, and that junction was formed when they opened the Warrington and Newton Railway in 1831, a year later. Earlestown Station was listed on timetables as Viaduct, or Newton Junction, or even Warrington Junction. It's not a common layout for a train station. 5 platforms set out in a sort of triangle. The curves play havoc with the new modern leaning trains. It's a bit of a leap of faith getting off at Earlestown Station. Plus there's no lifts, so it's murder with a pram. But on platform 2, you'll find the grade 2 listed old ticket office. Plus just round the corner on something called Chemical Street. That's where George Formby played his first gig. That's George Formby Jr., not George Formby Sr. George Formby Jr. is the one that we know. When I'm cleaning windows, that one. He performed under the name George Hoy, which was his mother's maiden name. He didn't want to use his father's name until he was top of the bill. Let's bimble.
Why won't you figure it out? Figure it. You know I talk really loud. If you heard, oh it's deafening. You still won't figure it out. Figure it.
This is classic curiously listed bimblers. An obelisk in the middle of Earlestown. What does it mark? Well, nothing round here. It actually started its life in Risley in Warrington, and in 1819 it was moved to St. Peter's Church in Newton. And then in 1897 it was shifted here to Earlestown Market. Why? Well, we don't know. but it's Grade 2 listed. It's made from stone that was found in Lord Newton's backyard, so I suppose it deserves to be here. But there's another monument just round the corner that has much more of a purpose. Let's bimble.
Protest all you like, we both know. With goodwill on your side.
This funny little Grade 2 listed chap is a memorial to the South African War, or as you might know it, the Boer War, the second one. That war was started after an influx of foreigners came after a gold rush, and those foreigners were mostly British people. The people who lived in those areas in South Africa thought that the British might come along and take it over and have the gold for themselves. Not that we did that kind of thing. But who were these people complaining of foreigners coming to South Africa and trying to steal all the gold? You might think it was African tribesmen, but it wasn't. It was Dutch immigrants from 100 years prior, the Boers. It seems like a very long drawn out affair, and it's very dry to research. But 50 men from here in Newton and Earlestown died in that conflict. This memorial cost £360, and it was designed by two other little chaps from here in Earlestown, called Dring and Manchester. It was unveiled by Lord Newton in 1905. It stands in front of Earlestown Town Hall, which was opened in 1893. That's Grade 2 listed as well, designed by a chap called Thomas Beasley. But never mind all this Grade 2 listed. What about Grade 1 listed? Let's bimble.
No. With goodwill on your side and a little time, you can have just what you like. We both know it's easy if you just try. It's better off this time. Have it your own way you like. Easy, just try. Easy, just try. Better off this time. Have it your own way you like. Easy, just try.
This is the reason why Earlestown Station was once called Viaduct. It's the Sankey Viaduct, or as you might know it if you're local, the 9 Arches. It's Grade 1 listed, dead posh, and it counts in this video because 2/3 of it are in Newton. Once it passes over the Sankey Brook, it goes into Warrington, Collins Green. Maybe we'll do it in curiously listed Warrington as well, or maybe not, I don't know. It was designed by George Stephenson, the fella who designed that railway that went between Liverpool and Manchester. The reason why they built Earlestown Station, Newton Le Willows Station. And they had to build this viaduct. It's seen to be the world's first railway viaduct, but it holds that distinction with another railway viaduct, which will pass on the way. It's certainly the bigger of the two, according to my big book of Bimble. Actually, these big books of Bimble are now official. You can buy these at Bimblism Live. I've had them printed up. It's a lovely notebook, and you get a lovely pencil with it that says Let's Bimble on it. It's only a £5, and only available at Bimblism Live. We're in Northwich next, at some point this month, the 15th of May, Thursday. Tickets are £10 plus a small booking fee. You know the score. Anyway, according to the notes in my big book of Bimble, it's 180 metres long and 21 metres tall. It had to be that tall to accommodate something called Mersey Flats. They were flat-bottom barges that used to have masts on with sails. They used to use the power of the wind to get them up and down all the canals that linked onto the River Mersey. That would be the Sankey Canal, as was, the Latchford Canal, the Weaver navigation, all the different canals. And so because of those masts and those sails, George Stephenson had to make his viaduct quite tall to accommodate them. Anyway, speaking of canals, let's bimble.
Washed in clean by a riverside. They told you.
Not only does Newton and Earlestown have the first intercity railway running through it, but back in the day, it would have had the first canal of the industrial age. A lot of people think the Bridgewater Canal was the first canal in the UK, opened in 1761, but the Sankey Canal was opened in 1757. 4 years previous. I think the confusion comes in because it used to be called the Sankey Brook Navigation, which implies that it's just a straightened out river. But it's quite separate from the Sankey Brook. It's a canal in its own right. The canal closed in 1963, but there are still some short sections still filled with water, like this one behind me. If you're wondering what it looked like back in 1969, just after it closed, you can watch a drama called Faith and Henry. That's available on the BFI player if you go and search for it. It's an ITV drama about a young couple that go for a walk down the canal on their way home from school after they bought some cheese. In that film, you can clearly see the Grade 2 listed Bradley Lock and the Grade 2 listed Bradley Swing Bridge, as well as something called the Mucky Mountains. That's a big pile of chemical waste. There used to be a chemical works here called Musprats, and they made sodium carbonate. One of the waste products from that is something called galley-goo, and that's what the Mucky Mountains are made out of. In the 1980s they did up the canal and made it a lovely cycle path for us to bimble down. You can get all the way from St Helens to Widnes, all off-road, going by sections of this canal, and you get to see a little bit of Grade 2 listed canal infrastructure. Anyway, enough of canals and galley-goo. Let's bimble.
Spoken in loud tones to you. Well, I've heard what they've said, ignored what I read, and looked to the bright side. So here's to the bad times, forgotten in good lives. I won't let you down. I won't let you down. I'll take off my shoes and dance to the good news. Broken smiles, but they won't turn it round. Smiles, but they won't turn it round. So take off your shoes and dance to the good news. Take off your shoes and dance to the good news. To the bad times, forgotten in good lives. I won't let you down. I won't let you down. I'll take off my shoes and dance to the good news. Broken smiles, but they won't turn it round. Smiles, but they won't turn it round. So take off your shoes and dance to the good news. Take off your shoes and dance to the good news. Take off your shoes and dance to the good news.
This is the Sankey Viaduct's little brother, the Newton Viaduct or Mill Lane Viaduct. It's not as tall as the Sankey Viaduct, but then it didn't need to be. It didn't have to accommodate those Mersey flats. It does, however, have to accommodate the Newton Brook, which flows underneath it through some culverts. It's well worth a look, and Grade 2 listed. Now we could head off back to St Peter's Church, and complete a little loop of Newton and Earlestown quite successfully. But there's one more thing here in Newton that's curiously listed, but I don't think I'm going to get to it. So we'll have to talk about it at Newton Le Willows train station. Let's bimble. That's the reason why we can't get to our last curiously listed building. It's on railway property. It's something called the Huskinson Monument. We would have to trespass on Network Rail property, and we could get fined up to £1,000. And I don't quite have that amount of money. And as you'll hear, being on the railways is quite dangerous. Not only did Newton and Earlestown have the first canal of the industrial age and the first intercity railway, it also had the first railway fatality. There was a chap called William Huskinson, who was the Liberal MP for Liverpool. He came to the grand opening. He was going for a ride up and down the tracks, as most of the dignitaries did. That would include the Duke of Wellington. They stopped to refuel the engine at a station called Parkside, which isn't there anymore. It would have been the next station after Newton Le Willows. They were advised not to, but a lot of people on the train got off the train and went and talked to each other, standing on the tracks. William Huskinson decided it was an opportune moment to go and apologise to the Duke of Wellington. They'd had a little bit of a falling out, and he wanted to shake his hand and say, no hard feelings. As he was shaking the Duke of Wellington's hand, George Stephenson's rocket was coming in the opposite direction. Most of the passengers hopped back onto the train or crossed over the tracks and onto the sidings where they'd be safe. William Huskinson couldn't quite make up his mind. He crossed the tracks twice, and he eventually decided to get into the Duke of Wellington's carriage. As he clambered up there, he gripped onto the door, and the door flung open, with William Huskinson dangling from it. And George Stephenson's rocket hit him and knocked him onto the tracks. He was immediately taken to Earlestown Station and taken to the vicarage, where a doctor came to look at him. The doctor advised that William Huskinson's wife should be alerted immediately. She should hop on one of the trains and come to the vicarage in Eccles. William Huskinson died from his injuries in that vicarage in Eccles that evening. So that's the world's first railway fatality on the opening day of the world's first intercity railway, just down the way from Newton Le Willows. And they have something called the Huskinson Monument just at the side of the railway. If you are on the train coming from Manchester into Newton Le Willows, look out to your left hand side, you might see it. But we can't get a good look at it. It's on railway property. So we'll have to make do with a Grade 2 listed ticket office and an old disused Victorian post box. That'll do, won't it?